Imagine sitting at a table between two men holding loaded guns, pointed at each other, and your only job is to convince both of them to put their weapons down before the entire room explodes. That is exactly where Pakistan is sitting right now, in real time, today, and the world has no idea how close to the edge this moment truly is. Welcome to Politique News. I'm your anchor, and today I want to explain the single most consequential diplomatic story unfolding on the planet right now, a story that is not about America, not about Iran, not about Israel, but about a country called Pakistan that has quietly inserted itself between two nuclear-armed civilizations, locked in an active shooting war. Let me walk you through what's happening, because this is no ordinary diplomatic shuttle mission. This is a nuclear-age chess match, and Pakistan is the only player at the board with pieces on both sides. Here is the hard reality as of this morning, March 25, 2026. The United States and Israel have been bombing Iran for 26 consecutive days. Over 1,500 Iranians are confirmed dead, more than 18,000 wounded, and the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway that carries 20% of the world's oil, remains effectively blockaded. Oil is trading above $100 a barrel. Stock markets are whiplashing on every rumor of talks, and the entire world is waiting to find out if this war ends at a negotiating table or at a nuclear threshold. Into that abyss stepped Pakistan. What I'm seeing right now is something I have not witnessed in 20 years of covering global crises: a single country simultaneously carrying the trust of a sitting-US president, the goodwill of a defiant Tehran, the blessing of Saudi Arabia's crown prince, and the credibility of the wider Islamic world. That combination does not exist in any other capital on earth right now. Not Ankara, not Cairo, not Beijing, only Islamabad. Let me walk you through how Pakistan earned this extraordinary and dangerous position, because nothing here is accidental. The foundation was built last September, months before the war started, when Pakistan signed a mutual defense pact with Saudi Arabia. That single agreement gave Islamabad the tacit blessing of the Gulf's most powerful state, without which Pakistan could never have offered itself as a neutral host for Iran talks: Saudi Arabia's crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman would not have tolerated any neighbor playing both sides without his explicit approval. That approval exists. That is leverage number one. Leverage number two arrived at the White House in the form of a personal relationship. Pakistan's Army Chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, visited President Trump at the White House in September 2025. Trump called him a great general and a great guy. Those are not throwaway words from Donald Trump. They are a form of diplomatic currency, and Pakistan's military establishment, which, let us be absolutely clear, holds the real levers of power in Islamabad, understood exactly how to spend that currency when this war began. Today, I want to explain why the relationship between Asim Munir and Donald Trump is not just symbolic warmth. It is the actual mechanism through which this peace process is functioning right now. On Monday, March 23rd, Field Marshal Munir picked up the phone and called Trump directly, not through a foreign ministry official, not through a diplomat. He called the President of the United States personally, man to man, general to commander-in-chief. According to multiple sources familiar with the conversation, that call was substantive, about the prospect of peace talks, about the framework for a deal, about whether Islamabad could serve as the venue that makes it real. That same day, US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff confirmed to Trump that he had a direct working relationship with Munir. They have a good working relation, one Islamabad-based analyst close to the government told NPR. This is the back channel that the world had been searching for, and Pakistan built it quietly, deliberately, and before the first bomb ever fell on Iran. What I'm seeing right now is a diplomatic architecture assembled over months, and now being stress-tested by an active war that is killing people every single hour. On Tuesday, March 24th, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif made the boldest public declaration of Pakistan's role to date. He posted directly on X, tagging Trump, US Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi simultaneously, and wrote that Pakistan stands ready and honored to be the host to facilitate meaningful and conclusive talks for a comprehensive settlement of the ongoing conflict. He tagged all three parties in the same post. That is not a diplomatic gesture. That is a public announcement of infrastructure. Pakistan telling the world, we have the relationships, we have the venue, we have the credibility, and we are open for business. Trump responded by reposting Sharif's message on Truth Social. That repost was not a casual click. It was the closest thing to an official US endorsement of Pakistan's mediating role that the White House was willing to make publicly, while Caroline Leavitt simultaneously told the press that these are sensitive diplomatic discussions, and the US will not negotiate through the press. Let me walk you through what Pakistan actually delivered in concrete terms, because the most extraordinary development in this story happened in the past 48 hours. The United States sent Iran a 15-point ceasefire plan, not through a hotline, not through the United Nations, not through Oman, which had mediated earlier rounds of nuclear talks, through Pakistan. Associated Press confirmed Wednesday morning, citing unnamed officials in Islamabad, that Pakistani intermediaries physically delivered the American proposal to the Iranian government. That document, 15 points, according to Israel's Channel 12, which published what it said were the plan's components, contains demands that read like a comprehensive dismantling of Iran's strategic deterrence, a 30-day ceasefire, the full dismantling of nuclear facilities at Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, a permanent commitment from Iran to never develop nuclear weapons. These are not negotiating starting points. These are maximalist victory conditions delivered through Pakistan's diplomatic channel. What I'm seeing right now is a scenario in which Pakistan is being asked to carry a document that Iran could easily rid as a demand for surrender, and Tehran's response tells you everything. Iran rejected the plan. Hard. Iran's state media cited a senior political security official calling the proposal unacceptable. Iran's top military spokesperson said on state television, "As we have always said, no one like us will make a deal with you. Not now. Not ever." Iran's ambassador to Pakistan publicly stated that, contradicting Trump's claims no direct or indirect negotiations have taken place between the two countries so far, and Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf posted on X, "Do not test our resolve to defend our land." This is the razor's edge Pakistan is navigating, the messenger carrying a message the recipient hates in a war where the recipient has ballistic missiles and a closed Strait of Hormuz as leverage. Today I want to explain exactly why Pakistan's role is so extraordinary, because delivering a peace plan that gets rejected is not failure. It is the first move in a negotiation. Every serious analyst covering this conflict understands one foundational truth: Iran will not negotiate from a position of visible weakness while bombs are still falling on its territory. The public rejection of the U.S. plan is not Iran's final word, it is Iran's opening posture. The actual negotiation, if it happens, will happen through the same Pakistani channel, with a different document at a different moment. Pakistan understands this. Islamabad is not discouraged by Iran's rejection. What Pakistan is doing through Munir's relationship with Trump, through Dar's diplomatic contact with Araghchi, through Sharif's public offer, is building a table that both parties can eventually sit at when the military calculus shifts enough for both sides to accept an exit. Let me walk you through Pakistan's unique structural position in this crisis, because it has layers that no other potential mediator possesses. Pakistan is a Muslim-majority nuclear state with deep cultural and religious ties to Iran. Tehran has publicly praised Pakistan's role and expressed willingness to engage through this channel. At the same time, Pakistan has warm, functional relations with Washington, underscored by the White House meeting between Trump and Munir. Pakistan also borders both Iran and China, maintains energy connectivity with the Gulf, and has a historical role as a bridge between the Islamic world and Western powers that no other nation can replicate. Crucially, Pakistan also has existential skin in this game. As one former Pakistani diplomat told reporters this week, "It would very much be in our interest, because we could be affected by this conflict. This is not charity." Pakistan's economy is fragile. Its energy imports depend on Gulf stability, and a war that spirals into regional collapse directly threatens Pakistani society at every level, from fuel prices to export routes. What I'm seeing right now is a mediator motivated not by prestige but by survival, and that makes Pakistan's commitment to this process the most durable of any party involved. The complications, however, are severe and should not be minimized. Israel is watching Pakistan's mediating role with deep suspicion. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is concerned that Trump might strike a deal that falls well short of Israel's military objectives, a deal that leaves Iranian infrastructure intact, limits future Israeli strikes, and trades short-term de-escalation for long-term Iranian nuclear capability. Israeli officials told Axios that they are highly skeptical Iran will actually agree to Trump's full demands, regardless of what Witkoff may have told the president. The Trump administration, for its part, is negotiating under fire, meaning it is consciously maintaining military pressure on Iran while simultaneously pursuing diplomacy through Pakistan. This is a high-wire calculation. Use bombs to create the urgency for a deal, but do not bomb so completely that Iran's leadership collapses and there is no functional government left with whom to negotiate. Let me walk you through the economic dimension of this story, because the markets are watching Pakistan's every move in real time. On Wednesday morning, when the 15-point peace plan leaked and reports emerged that Pakistan had delivered it to Iran, S&P 500 futures jumped more than 1%. Oil prices dropped. In 60 minutes, billions of dollars in market value moved on the news that a Pakistani diplomatic channel had delivered a document that is the power of what Islamabad currently holds: not just diplomatic credibility, but direct financial market impact. When Iran's rejection of the plan leaked hours later, futures pulled back, oil rebounded. The world is essentially pricing Pakistan's success or failure in real time on every commodity exchange on the planet. Today, I want to explain what a successful Pakistani mediation would mean and what a failed one would trigger. If Pakistan succeeds, if it can bring the US and Iran to a table in Islamabad, produce a ceasefire, and create the architecture for a nuclear deal, it transforms Pakistan from a struggling, sanctions-adjacent economy into one of the most diplomatically influential nations on earth. The geopolitical elevation of Pakistan would reshape South Asian power dynamics, improve relations with every Gulf state simultaneously, and give Islamabad leverage with Washington on every issue from IMF loans to India-Pakistan tensions. If Pakistan fails, if the talks collapse, the war expands, and Islamabad is seen as having facilitated American ultimatums to a Muslim nation, the domestic political consequences inside Pakistan would be severe, and the regional blowback from Iran and its allies could damage Pakistan's security architecture for years. What I'm seeing right now is a country that has chosen the most ambitious diplomatic gamble of its modern history and is executing it with a precision that has surprised every major power watching. There is one final dimension to this story that I need to address directly because it goes to the heart of everything this crisis means for the future of global power. Pakistan is a nuclear state. Iran is a threshold nuclear state, meaning it had enough enriched uranium before this war began for 11 nuclear weapons, according to its own declared stockpiles. The United States is the world's preeminent nuclear power. These three actors are now intertwined in a negotiation that is literally about whether a nuclear weapons program gets dismantled or whether the war escalates to a point where its use becomes conceivable. That is the stakes of what Pakistan is carrying into that room. Let me close with this, because at Politique News, our mission is to make sure you understand not just today's headline, but the shape of the world that headline is building. Pakistan's mediation in the US-Iran war is one of the most important diplomatic stories of this century, not because it is guaranteed to succeed, but because of what it reveals. It reveals that in a world of superpower confrontation, the most consequential actor is sometimes not the one with the most missiles, but the one with the most trusted relationships across every fault line in the conflict. Pakistan has relationships in Washington, in Tehran, in Riyadh, in Beijing, and across the Islamic world simultaneously. In a war where every other potential mediator, the UN, the EU, Russia, China, has been sidelined, dismissed, or simply lacks credibility with one of the parties, Pakistan stands alone in its ability to carry the message that could stop the bombs. Whether that message gets heard is the question that will define not just the fate of this war, but the trajectory of Middle Eastern stability, global energy markets, nuclear proliferation, and the future of American power projection for the next decade. This is what Politique News exists to explain every day behind the headlines. Behind the explosions, behind the markets, there are decisions being made in rooms that the world rarely sees, decisions that shape the future of finance, the balance of military power, and the architecture of international stability. Today, one of those rooms is in Islamabad, and the man holding the door open is a Pakistani field marshal who once had coffee with Donald Trump and now carries the weight of a potential world war in his hands. Stay informed, stay ahead. This is Politique News.